Freshies. Fresh, clean, invigorating, fresh smelling, freshy fragrances. We all love a good freshie, right? Especially at this time of year when it's nice and warm. I'm going to let you know what my most worn freshies are. Stay tuned. Freshie, what does that even mean? Well, it's a word that the fragrance community has settled on to describe fragrances that are fresh smelling. So fresh smelling fragrances, a lot of the time will have citrus notes, maybe poppy citrus notes. They'll have something clean, something invigorating about them. Generally, I think freshie means fragrances that are perfect to wear in the summer. Although freshies can be worn all year round, you generally find that because of the notes that make up fresh fragrances, that perhaps they last a little better, they perform better in the heat. And some people have heat all year round, which is great, good for you. I wish I did. I don't exclusively wear fresh fragrances in the summer. I do wear some heavier fragrances too, but it is the time of the year when I am most likely to gravitate towards a fresher smelling fragrance. So I've got 5 of the most amazing fresh smelling fragrances to talk to you about today. There's a few usual suspects. I've talked about these in other videos. You'll have heard many people talking about them, but these are the ones that I've been wearing and enjoying the most. So let's get into it. I'm going to start off with a very obscure, unknown fragrance that probably none of you have heard about before. From Dolce Gabbana, it's light blue, Oh Intense. Okay, maybe a few of you have heard about this fragrance. I've talked about this fragrance a lot. It's a summer go-to. Lots of people talk about it. It's become a classic. I still feel like it's the one in the light blue line that gets the most talk. And I think the reason for that is it's the most balanced of the light blue fragrances. I like quite a few of them. The recent Italian Love, I do really like. That has a massive blast of grapefruit in the opening, which I really enjoy. But after having worn that for a few weeks now, I have moved back. I did say that I enjoyed it equally as much as this one, but I think I am more gravitating back towards light blue Oh Intense simply because it is a perfectly blended fragrance. There's some citruses, although the citruses aren't too much. There's some musks, there's some salty marine accords. The musks in this, I think, are really what smooths out this fragrance. So generally, I find this a very smooth, easy to wear fragrance. For me, this is a casual daytime wear sort of scent. This is a fragrance I bought when I was at the beginning of the part of my fragrance journey when I was starting to collect fragrances and buy a lot of fragrances. I'd started my channel. That's part of the reason why I was buying so many fragrances. So this reminds me of the early days of my channel. It reminds me of my first top 10 summer fragrances video. It reminds me of the place in Wales on the beach where it was when I filmed that. The salty marine accords in this just go perfectly well with wearing it on a summer's day by the coastline. So I've got some really nice scent memories intertwined with this fragrance. Really easy to wear. It's a casual crowd pleaser. If you want an easy to wear, freshy fragrance for the summer that pretty much ticks all the boxes, you're not going to go far wrong with Dolce Gabbana Light Blue Oh Intense. I love it. It's one of my most worn freshies. Salty oceanic marine accords are very popular with fresher fragrances, and that is certainly the case with Acqua di Gio Profumo. Yeah, I know this one has been talked about endlessly, and interestingly, the hype that YouTube videos created with this one meant that when I first bought it, I thought, what's all the hype about? But then I started wearing it and it really grew on me, and it is one of my favorite fresher fragrances to wear. It's not exclusively fresh actually, because it's got some herbs in there that work really nicely with the marine notes, and the thing that makes this fragrance sort of rise above a lot of other fresher fragrances is the incense, which sits beautifully on top of some patchouli. So this one has lots of depth. I could wear it through the day, and I have worn it a lot through the day, but this is the quintessential summer evening fragrance. Of course, if you know the Acqua di Gio DNA, it gives that very fresh, clean, gentlemanly cologne type of vibe, which I love. You get all that with this. You get even more than that. This is a really well-composed fragrance. It's talked about a lot for good reason. It's a great fragrance, and I wear this one a lot. The next freshie is probably the fresh fragrance that I've worn most so far in 2022, and most of that wearing was done in the space of 10 days because I bought this fragrance specifically to go on a holiday. I was going to Mauritius, which is in the Indian Ocean, so I wanted something that gave me some tropical vibes, something that I could wear casually during the daytime. So I chose Creed's Virgin Island Water. Again, endlessly talked about. This has rum, coconut and lime, but fragrances that are endlessly talked about are talked about, like I said, because they're really good. And this one is the same. Yeah, it's not got the biggest performance in the world, but for a casual daytime scent, when you're on holiday, when you're on a vacation, it works really well. So I was just spraying this pretty freely, quite a lot of sprays every day, and I loved it. I walked out into the humidity of Mauritius in the middle of the Indian Ocean, and this just smelt so good. I wanted to make this the scent of my holiday. So whenever I smell Virgin Island water, now it takes me back to those days that I had with my family and all the activities that we were doing, swimming with dolphins, sitting by the pool, just chilling out, drinking cocktails by the beach, all tied up now in this fragrance. This has become one of my favorite Freshies. You can see I've put a pretty big dent in this, and I think I will continue to do so. Got a feeling this is not going to last me very long.
If you love fragrance as much as I do, head over to my online store, luxparfum.co.uk. You'll find my favourite brands, plus brands you can't find anywhere else in the UK. Link is in the description.
Okay, the next one is a little bit different because it's not a really well-known designer brand. Some of you may not have even heard of this brand, although I'm sure many of you watching this video will. It's one of my favourite niche brands. It's Imaginary Authors, and their fresher fragrance, or one of their fresher fragrances, is called Every Storm a Serenade. If you didn't know, all Imaginary Authors fragrances are based on imaginary novels, so novels that are made up. They're not actually written, but there's a synopsis of the novels on the website, and each of their fragrances ties in with those imaginary novels. So the note in Every Storm a Serenade is Danish spruce, eucalyptus, vetiver, cologne, ambergris, Baltic sea mist. So cologne, I think, is a note that is used to emulate a sea-like smell, so a salty, marine-like quality. It's used in a lot of fragrances that have that sort of character to them. This isn't fresh in terms of a zingy, poppy citrus at all, because as far as I can tell, there isn't any citrus in this one. This is fresh from the spruce and the eucalyptus, so you get this green, piney accord, which is absolutely beautiful. And of course, the cologne is giving that sort of marine accord. Baltic sea mist, that's the imaginary note. Each of their fragrances have an imaginary note, which is really clever because it just puts an image in your mind, which really helps you to buy into the fragrance. What I love about this is it's got lots of depth, and it's fresh, but it's also moody. It reminds me of Oregon in the United States. I've never been there, but I've seen it lots on videos. It's a place I would love to visit. It's got a very distinctive coastline, lots of cliffs, lots of waterfalls, lots of little rocky islands with greenery perched on top. Whenever I smell this fragrance, I think of that. And a movie that I'm sure you will all know that was filmed in that area is The Goonies. When I smell this fragrance, it conjures up the sort of coastline that you get, you know, at the end of The Goonies when they come out and they're on the ocean. Very distinctive coastline. I think of that when I smell Every Storm a Serenade. This is the perfect fragrance. If you like to accompany your movies with an appropriate fragrance, as I'm sure many of you do, that's a thing everyone does, right? Anyway, if you're watching The Goonies, then Every Storm a Serenade is definitely the one to wear. Love it. The last fragrance I'm going to talk about is an absolute beauty. This is probably one of my favorite fragrances of all time. I just keep coming back to it. Perfect to wear in the warmer weather, but also perfect to wear all year round. It's from Dior, and it's not Dior Homme cologne. I love Dior Homme cologne. That is definitely more of a summer scent for me. The fragrance I'm talking about is Dior Homme Eau for Men. I am sorry that I'm talking about a discontinued fragrance. It pains me that this fragrance is discontinued because it's so good. I don't know why it was discontinued. Maybe it wasn't selling. Maybe Dior thought it smelled a bit too similar to Dior Homme, which it kind of does, but I think it's better than Dior Homme. I enjoy wearing this. It's got a little more intensity in terms of a slight citrusy pop. It's not a citrus heavy fragrance. It's not zingy or zesty. There is grapefruit and bergamot. It's more of a subtle citrus, but it does give it just a little bit of extra lift. It's hard to describe really. It just gives it a bit of extra something for me compared to Dior Homme. I love Dior Homme, but I love this one even more. The primary note in this one, as with a lot in the Dior Homme line, is the lipsticky iris. It's also woody and powdery, so it's got good depth. Even though it's called Dior Homme Eau, do not think that this is a lighter fragrance that doesn't last. This fragrance lasts on me. This lasts all day, and to have a lighter, fresher fragrance that has good performance, it doesn't always happen very often. So when you find one, and you find one that you really love, you kind of got to hold on to that. A little bit hard if it's a discontinued fragrance. I do have 2 bottles. I bought this one incorrectly. This is the Aftershave Splash, but I do love splashing a little bit of this on after a shower. I think it's the perfect time for it. I do also have the Eau de Toilette, but just in this little 50ml bottle. I wish I'd bought a 100ml bottle of this because I don't want it to run out. If it's possible for a fresher fragrance to give you a warm hug. I know that sounds contradictory, a fresh fragrance giving you a warm hug. I think this one does. This is a sexy warm hug of a fresh fragrance. I adore it. I'm not gonna sit here and tell you to spend silly money on this fragrance on eBay, but maybe you will find a good deal. Maybe someone is selling it and they don't know what they've got. They don't know that it's discontinued fragrance. If you find a good deal, go for it, but it's probably not worth the silly prices that people are asking for on eBay. But I love this fragrance. I've included it in this list because it's a list of most worn fresher fragrances, and this is one of my most worn. It's amazing. Dior Homme Eau for Men. Right, these are my most worn freshy fragrances. There are others that I wear, there are others that I enjoy, but overall, through the years, I would say these are the ones I've been wearing the most. What are your most worn fresh fragrances? Do you like Freshies? Do you even like that word? Do you think we should call them Freshies, or is that just dumb? Is it stupid? Let me know in the comments and recommend me some great fresh scents, whether they're designer or niche. If I've not tried them out, I would love to try them. I hope you liked this video and found it useful. If you did, give it a like, subscribe if you haven't already. And if you do that, I will see you in the next video. Bye.